Hello, I'm Fez from the DAO Facilitation Squad, and we're here to hold some conversation around the committee selection processes. Since the last two times that the core team started elections for committees, the community showed some opposition to the process and the way that they have been handled. So here with Gino, again with Gino. Um, how are you?
Hey, how are you, Fitz? Doing good.
Good, good. Well, hey, nice to have you again. Last time we did a quick introduction, so I guess now we can jump directly into the questions.
Totally.
Okay, perfect. So the first one is, why do you think there was an opposition to the last two committee election processes?
Okay, so a couple of things. First, I would like to say that it's the first time that we're doing, like, the DAO is doing a process like this, right? I mean, in the past, we had the Wearables Curations Committee selection, but first of all, uh, the duties of that committee, even though they're like really important for the in-world experience and everything, they do not hold such as I don't know how to say it, like governance power, like ruling power than those two committees. Of course, the DAO committee, which even though does not or it shouldn't have an opinion on things, but it's important because it has access to the DAO treasury and to some critical execution mechanisms for the DAO. And secondary, the revocations committee, which is, I mean, it's a difficult position to be in because they're going to be the ones deciding if a grant needs to be revoked or not based on evidence. And even though they should be as objective as possible, of course, they will be in a position to rule and make decisions that are going to be hard for the community. So I would say that it's not only about the mechanisms, which I agree. I mean, they weren't like the best ones, or it wasn't as lean as they should have been. But it was also out like the idea of having new people, the idea of having a new committee, the power dynamics behind those decisions and everything. So that's one thing. Regarding the process specifically, I think that on the first DAO committee election, like on the first try of the election, maybe the DAO committee was too optimistic regarding the situation and the power moves that we ended up seeing in the process. So I feel that they thought that the process was going to be like super straightforward, and it wasn't. And the mechanism, the process wasn't designed uh, for the kind of things that we see. And I don't want to go into details because that's public, but I mean, like power, how can I say, like power blocks and some power dynamics that we, at least I wasn't expecting, and I guess that the DAO committee wasn't expecting either. Secondary, I mean, secondly, the governance app didn't help in the process uh, because we didn't have a better way to choose people or to rank people or to wherever having like a hiding category or something like that. We I mean, we proposed some ideas to the DAO committee, and we also had discussions regarding the revocations committee with the Grand Support Squad, um, and things ended up being as they actually happened. Uh, but I mean, I have to say that we didn't help maybe on the with the design of the governance tab regarding the process. Um, and third, I feel that sometimes people see committees as like a shady thing or a centralization mechanism or something like that. So they approach they approach the process and the issue and the thing super cautious and having maybe like second thoughts or having some precautions regarding the process. And that also made it uh, more complicated and showed some opposition to the process.
Okay, well, pretty clear your answer regarding the processes, and also really interesting what you point about the two committees that were in discussion, right? The DAO committee and the revocations one.
Yeah.
They are both committees that we cannot like take for granted that they are both like in charge of take care of the treasury, right? So I guess
That's true.
that's the like the core thing of this.
Yeah.
So next question is, when the community asks for more decentralization in these processes, what comes to your mind?
Um, okay, I think we need to, and maybe it's not the best place to have this discussion, but I would recommend uh, everyone to read Vitalik's post on the meaning of decentralization, because I feel that we need to settle on a definition of what decentralization is. Um, but for me, when people asks for more decentralization in the process, it's because they don't understand what decentralization means, or at least we don't agree on what decentralization means. uh, when we create committees, is basically because the times of decentralization and the dynamics of decentralization, they are not always the best suited for some specific tasks, right? uh, I mean, we do not have like a fully automated DAO, so that's why we need a trusted human proxy to execute transactions on chain, or we cannot rely on the community that voted maybe for one specific grant to happen to later revoke that exact same grant that they voted for. So in this case, for me, it's all about transparency and liquid power delegation, right? Each one of those committees should be or must be as transparent as possible. Every decision that they made needs to be communicated to the community. The community has to have the power to revoke members of that committee for sure. Um, and that's the beauty of like, I don't know, power dynamics, power delegation, and representation on like blockchain based organizations, right? I mean, you can give and you can take away power almost immediately, right? So if the community decides that a committee is not doing their job right, well, they have the ability to revoke the committee. And that's why I think revocations are really important for this. And I know that there was some discussions regarding the revocations committee, for example, because the Grand Support Squad chose like the first roster of people to be part of that committee. Well, the community can, I mean, the community has the ability to vote no, right? I mean, they did the proposal because it was the most effective and efficient way of moving forward. But if the community wants to block like all the candidates the revocations committee proposed, well, they can do that. They can also choose to expect the best and trust the people and vote on those members of the committee. And if they are not doing their job right, they can revoke the committee as well. So I wouldn't say that we are centralizing decision making. I mean, we are making it more efficient, and while we keep the centralization aspect by making the decision making process transparent and liquid in terms of power representation and delegation. um, I don't know, I mean, we've seen some interesting, or I've been seeing some interesting governance mechanisms being built with this idea of delegation and representatives. I really like how Optimism Network is doing the houses governance mechanism. They basically have some decisions made by the community and some decisions made by the House of Citizens, which is basically a chamber of representatives that are being selected by the optimism community, not only by voting, but also because they made some, I don't know, specific achievements for the network or for the community, or because they built a project around the optimism that was super powerful, or because maybe because they are like super well versed in governance, in decentralized governance, and they wanna have those members in their chamber of citizens. So I think that we are seeing some movements towards delegating specific responsibilities to groups of people, and that doesn't mean that the process is uh, not decentralized, or at least not because of this mechanism.
Whoa, nice reflection, nice research that you've done, and also I can recall some conversations that we had lately, and there's also a thing around decentralization. I can recall that you mentioned more than once the check and balances thing, right? So I think the community should focus more on that and what you just said, that abiding governance proposal and a process that established is not like, I don't know, immortal. You can always put another proposal. You can like reject a proposal that's been submitted.
Totally. Yeah.
There's
I mean, for me, like power limitation, and specifically from our team, our and let me read it. Let me read the governance squad mission. I should know this by heart, but I want to read it really specifically. But basically, our mission is enable users to make better decisions by providing the information and the technical infrastructure to do it in a fast, easy, and delightful way. And this is super important. I mean, we will always strive to provide the community with the information and the data they need to make better decisions. So, I mean, if the revocations committee starts executing on things, be sure that the governance squad will do something so anyone can consume those decisions and do the checks and balances regarding the work that they are doing, for sure. And regarding the DAO committee, we are also thinking on adding some things on our transparency reports, and like trying to be more transparent on the transactions the DAO committee executes and everything. So this is gonna be out there once those committees start to execute things.
perfect. Also, I want to remind all the people that's listening this this is an ongoing work, right? The core team and all the community members are trying to build this community from zero, from ground. So it's really good to hear that there are existing mechanisms and that you're still working on new mechanisms to foster transparency. So, well, nice to hear that. Um, Maybe we can jump into the next and maybe last question. So, if we take like the situation as it is right now, what do you think are our options to improve the process? And do you think that the implementation of the ranked choice voting in the DApp will help to solve these issues?
um I mean, I would say that no feature implementation will solve like power dynamics and and discussion. I think it's all about community building and transparency, right? I mean, if the community would trust or would approach the process with, I don't want this to sound bad, but like with good faith. But I know everyone is approaching this with good faith, but like with less conspicuency, let's say. I mean, having like ranked choice voting or whatever way of doing this in the governance app would make it easier. But if the community does not trust the process, even with a feature there, it will be a mess as well, right? So I think it's all about community building and being transparent, and that's it. It's not a feature, at
Totally,
least
totally
from my
agree with
point of
that.
view.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
Uh,
think, sorry, and I think that the work that you guys are doing with the facilitation and these like reports and interviews and everything, it's something that help, and it's probably the most important thing that we have to do in order to align the community towards these goals and processes and everything. So I think this is way more valuable than building a feature,
mhm.
even though
Hey,
the
I
feature
can.
is
I,
important.
maybe we can think like the solution for this, or maybe the way towards the solution are mechanisms, but mechanisms may not be features. So
Totally.
uh,
Yeah.
that's a thing that also we and the community must take into account, right?
Uh-huh.
When we're talking about this. Okay, well, would you like to like give some closing words, a conclusion for this chat?
I think that, I mean, we need to we should keep the committees as lean as possible and as small as possible, but let's also be mindful that for a decentralized organization, a decentralized network to work, we have usually more nodes results in a more secure and robust process, right? So adding people to the committees, being mindful of the addition and being cautious of the addition is really important for the robustness of our governance mechanism, for the safety of our treasury, and for the transparency of the grants program and anything related to our treasury management strategy. So or to treasury, I don't know, safety strategy. So I think this is really really important for the DAO.
It is indeed, it is. So, okay, I think that's all. Thanks for sharing your thoughts again. And well, I think this is going to be published in a few days with the
Cool.
new monthly pulse. And I keep you posted about it.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Gino.
Take care.